Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students, in this lesson we are going to talk about reading skills, and at the end of this lesson you will be able to understand what is reading and types of reading, and we shall have a practice on reading skills. So what is reading? Reading is basically a skill that enables us to get a message. This is one thing that you understand the message, you recognize the written words and understand its meaning. Reading is also used to teach pronunciation, and it is also by virtue of reading you can grasp information from the text. So let's see that how what do we read in our daily life. Normally we read calendars, addresses, phone books, name cards, bank statements, cloth size labels, junk mail, postcards. There are certain things that we read in our daily life. So we come across this type of stuff like newspapers, diplomas, application forms, store catalogs, magazine, radio and TV guides, etc., etc. So these are the things that we usually read in our daily life. So why do we read? In fact, we read for pleasure sometimes, and sometimes we read for the purpose of getting some specific information. So there are four major types of reading skills that we are going to discuss in this lesson. That is, the first one is skimming and the other is scanning, and then there is intensive reading and extensive reading. So let's move towards the next slide and look at the skimming. Skimming is in fact quick reading, when you are going to read something quickly in order to get some specific information, in order to know about how the passage is organized, or to get an idea of the intention of the writer. So basically it is more complex task than scanning, because it requires the reader to recognize and remember some of the information given by the writer. So it is a sort of tool in which the author's sequence can be observed, unlike scanning, in which some predetermined information is sought after. So let's move towards next slide. There is an activity that you have to perform, that you have to do. Here is what the experts now say. So you have to skim, you have to find out the information, you have to apply this skill in order to get the information. Then is scanning. Scanning is a quick reading exercise that focuses on locating specific information. It involves quick eye movements, not necessarily linear in fashion. Scanning is used when a specific piece of information is required, such as name, date. So when you have kept one thing in mind, one question in mind, then you are in fact going to scan. And like if you are going to read having a reading comprehension passage, in fact you are going to scan, you are already given a question and then you are going to find out the answer. So ultimately you are going to scan for the information. But in skimming you have to keep all the things in your mind, and you have to note down whatever the writer has written. You want to know about how the passage is organized. You have to get the general meaning. So in skimming you have to read it thoroughly, but in scanning you have to read for the purpose, for specific purpose, to get some specific information. So this is the activity for scanning. You have to scan the information, and there will be a quiz after that you have to perform the quiz, and you have to fill out the blanks, and you are also mark the choices. There are 5 questions, and in 5 questions you have to mark the choices also. Then comes intensive and extensive reading. When you are reading for some purpose, like when you are reading your course book, so you are having intensive reading. It is detailed in-class analysis led by the teacher of vocabulary and grammar points in a short passage. In intensive reading is sometimes called narrow reading, because here you are completely involved. So this is very important that It is basically the success of narrow reading on improving reading comprehension based on the premise that the more familiar the reader is with the text. So you have to get familiar when you are having intensive reading. You have to thoroughly study it. Extensive reading is reading for pleasure. So in intensive reading, you are reading for academic purposes and you are getting the information, and then you have to answer, you have to elaborate that information. But in here, when you are reading for sake of pleasure, like you are reading storybooks, novels and magazine, etc., then you are having extensive reading. So this is just to achieve a general understanding of a text. No need to talk about particular themes, grammar or spelling and anything else. Rather, just for sake of pleasure, you are reading. So in this case, you read a large amount of high interest material, usually out of class. So, and concentrating on meaning. So the aim of extensive reading are to build reader confidence and enjoyment. It is always done for the comprehension of main ideas, not for specific ideas. So there will be a quiz when you are done with intensive and extensive reading. Then you have to attempt this quiz. There are certain strategies and processes of effective readers, like pre-reading, that they set a purpose for reading, and while reading they ask questions, summarize things, identify main ideas while making connections, and then they draw inferences and visualize, and then use fix-up strategies. So after reading, they reflect on what they have read, then revise their interpretation, summarize main ideas, draw conclusions, seek additional information. These are the strategies that you have to adopt if you want to enhance your reading skills. So if you want to become an active reader, then you have to learn skimming and scanning both, and then skimming ahead and jumping back, marking up the text, highlighting or underlining key ideas. When you are reading something, you have to highlight the ideas. You have to make your points, circling unfamiliar words, making marginal notes. These are the strategies when you want to become an active reader. So you have to adopt these strategies. You have to note down your points. You have to mark what is important and what is not important. So in this way, you can grasp what the information you need from the text. So comprehensive reading: reread the text, then activate prior knowledge, use context clues, infer meaning, think aloud, and summarize the story. So there are certain tips to cultivate a lifetime reading habit. Sometimes go to used bookshops, always carry a book, have a library day, make lists, set times, find a quiet place, make it pleasurable, means make it enjoy reading. If you'll start enjoying reading, ultimately you will learn. You will learn more. So keep a log, reduce television, internet, set a high goal, and have a reading hour or reading day. There are certain barriers to effective reading, like when you lack linguistic and grammatical competence, and you're not motivated enough and lack concentration. So ultimately, you are not going to become an effective reader. So lack of proper light and ventilation, then big size of the book is also the barrier in effective reading. Sometimes you have to articulate the words and sentences loudly, putting finger, pen or any object on the words and sentences while reading. Narrow eye span. So these are the barriers that we usually face while acquiring effective reading. So this is all about reading skills. If you have any question, you can ask me.